Hey, Anita.
Hey, Karen.
How's it going?
Fine. You ready to do the podcast this week?
I am ready.
Let's go.
Blue wave, we rise to save the day. Only me, only you can let our hearts sail away on a blue wave.
So, today, if you're listening to this podcast, you are likely listening on Mother's Day, or you're
Happy,
listening on the Monday following Mother's Day. So, happy Mother's Day to you, Anita, and to all
happy
of our
Mother's Day to you,
listeners.
Karen.
Yes, if
And
you
to
are
all the
a
mothers out
and
there.
and strong women who have been amazing guides to any children anywhere, and made a difference. Everybody matters, and I know that we're missing our mamas that on this day, so thanks to both of them, right?
Absolutely.
For the examples that they were and the inspiration that they gave us, and
Hmm.
the fighting spirit that they instilled in us. So love to you, Mom, wherever you are.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your mom, Karen? You
Yeah,
there?
yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I miss my mom. This day is a wonderful day because, it's um a day that I can gather with my kids. And I'm lucky enough to have an amazing stepmom, Ellie, who stepped into a void for me at a
Yeah.
critical time in my life. So I definitely do not want to neglect giving her props. And also, and I know we both have kind of legacies from our mom, and my mom, her legacy was for me, with her activism in getting open housing in Oak Park, along with my dad, and other like-minded progressives of the time. I'm very proud of. No extra props, but I'm very proud of that legacy because it really did form who I was. She was an elected election judge in a very red district in her later years, and I thought that took an amount of courage that not everybody is willing to show, and so
Well, it
she
didn't used to be dangerous back then, but now it is very
now
dangerous. But
now it
yeah,
yes. Yeah, but it was definitely getting into some dangerous territory
yeah.
when, in 2020 we lost her in the early days of COVID.
Oh, that's right. Was she doing
Yeah.
that then? Was she an election judge that year?
She definitely was planning on being
Hmm.
an election judge, but for obvious reasons, chief among them, she was 81 years old.
Hmm.
And so that would have been a risk for her own health
During COVID.
during
Yeah.
COVID. So, there was definitely some questions as to whether or not she would be able to do that again that particular year. But it was always, it was always something that was very important to her. And she was an
Yeah.
inspiration, and she was a great example about how, you don't rest on your privilege and your protection. And that, we put ourselves out there and speak up and fight for other people.
Yeah, that's right. And she died during COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, and she was honestly, we've talked about this before, but she had a heart condition. She should have gone to the doctor. She couldn't because of
Mhm.
COVID, and
Yeah.
she was she was one of the casualties of COVID.
Yes, yeah, she was, she had COPD, and she had been
Hmm.
receiving pulmonary therapy for a number of years, and it was definitely helping. And, she went for regular visits to the doctor, and
Hmm.
COVID hit. And of course, just like millions of other Americans,
Yeah.
how doctor's appointments were not happening, therapies were not being done and or received. So, yeah, it was definitely a consequence of COVID that she was unable to go and receive the therapy that she needed. And so she died of heart failure due to complications of COPD. So, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, definitely. And that was before she died, before there was even a vaccine. Nobody was,
correct.
it was that spring, right?
Well, it was
Of
actually,
2020.
yeah, so it was actually her birthday. I was supposed to see her on her birthday, which was July 17th.
Mm,
And we were supposed to go. I was going to take her to a doctor's appointment, and she sadly passed away on the 11th, on July 11th of 2020. So,
yeah.
I mean, you and I have talked about it, and I think we can both say that our mothers are were our compasses, and they were kind of the people that we would call when things were good. We called them when things were not so good. Advice about raising kids, and things like that.
Well, I didn't get that opportunity.
And you didn't, yeah, you didn't. And yeah, and it's just yeah, it's one of those things where you look at it, and it was
I think you always miss your mother. It doesn't matter
yeah.
when. Now,
Yep.
my mother, our circumstances were a little different because my mother died when I was only 28 and she was 48. And so she died suddenly. She had a brain hemorrhage. But my
Mhm.
mother was also, she was my best friend, honestly. And anybody in my family will tell you this because we talked every day. She worked, um, she worked hard and she worked on the days that she had off. We always spent them together. I mean, it was such a big loss. And my mother fought. She's like your mother. She fought for women's rights. She was the first woman manager, I think, in the all of Southwest of
Mhm.
a major like a garage type. She worked for Firestone.
Yeah.
I like to say she was Lily Ledbetter before Lily Ledbetter, but
Mhm.
uh, because
I'll go with
she
that.
yeah, she ended up having to sue Firestone because she was up for promotion, and this other guy got it that she had trained. So she
Mhm.
sued them. She took them to court and she won.
Mhm.
And she was a fighter. She was always a fighter. She sued Sears when they wouldn't give
Mhm.
her a credit card in her name.
Mhm.
So yeah, I can't even imagine what she'd think now because my mom died in 92.
Mhm.
So right before Christmas, which was really hard.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as a matter of fact, she died on December 14th, which is the same day the kids at Sandy Hook died. And
Yeah.
so it's just a horrible day altogether.
It's a horrible day, and it's just one of those things that you never get over, totally get over. With time, the passage of time, I feel like it gets a little bit less, but there are those moments, Anita, where it just kind of creeps up on you, and there's
Yeah,
just yeah, you
there's
just
been
feel
times.
it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I miss my mom every day.
yeah, absolutely.
Even this long, even though it's been this long, I
Hmm.
still miss her. And I know
Yeah,
everybody in my family was damaged to a certain extent by my mother
hmm,
dying so suddenly, our
yeah,
mother dying so suddenly.
of course, yeah.
And yeah.
Well,
So
and it's but think about it, like, so what year was that your mom,
this
challenged
was
Goodyear? I mean,
this was no Firestone. This was
or
in the
Firestone,
early.
sorry. Yeah.
This was in the late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
I was a young teenager,
Mhm.
so it probably would have been like 1979, 1980,
Okay. Yeah.
around that
So
time, around
yeah, so
the
we were
late
both like
70s. Yeah,
so we were like freshmen, sophomore in high
yeah.
school, right?
And so
Yeah.
yeah, and so there was there wasn't even an article in the paper that I still
Mhm.
have with her
Yeah.
picture on there. And here's a funny story. So it said Nellie Reed. retires chauvinistic quip, and it was funny because that story came out, and she was on the news and everything,
Mhm.
and then she started getting calls from lesbians who who
Really?
actually came by there.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Now my mother didn't. I mean, my mother was not homophobic, so she just thought it was
No.
funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I mean, and it just, really though, at that time, I mean, that was a very short time after your mom would have been able to get a checking account in her own name, right? Our
yeah.
moms. And that would have been a
Hmm.
short time after Roe was enacted.
Yeah, I don't even think about that, but yeah, you're right. I hadn't
It,
thought about it that way because Roe um ins- uh, was ruled in 1972, right? 19
mhm.
was it or seven?
Yeah,
No,
73. What,
seven,
73. 73.
73, 74. I
Yeah.
mean, it
Yeah.
seemed like it was just you know there forever. When as I'm sure you thought about it
Yeah.
like that too, that it was just that's there. Abortion
Yeah.
is legal. I never even questioned it. I can't even
Mhm.
imagine what my mother would be saying now.
Oh, oh,
Um,
I can imagine what my
because
mom
like
would be saying, yeah.
oh my, well, yeah, your mom did hate Donald Trump already,
Oh,
right? She did.
yes,
So
yes,
we knew, at least you got to know that. But
yes,
she didn't get to see him lose,
mhm,
which is a
yes,
shame.
right,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
um,
yeah, my mother would have
yeah,
hated him. My mother hated Reagan. My mother, and and at the time when Reagan was very popular,
mhm,
she would tell me about all the horrible things he was doing, like telling us that ketchup was a vegetable for school
mhm,
lunches, was classified as a vegetable.
yeah,
She couldn't deduct credit card interest or mortgage interest
mhm,
once Reagan. There were so many things that he did that were so damaging that we just don't even think about now. I remember also how she had a pension, and
mhm,
then she was supposed to have, she had a pension. I'm sorry, but my dogs are barking.
that's okay.
And he was the one who started the 401k,
Mhm,
the 401ks. And now people, that's not, you can't retire on those.
no, definitely not. Yeah, and I mean, and so this was at a time too, Anita, where correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, she was a single mom too.
She was a single mom. She had three kids, my brothers and myself. Yeah, she was an amazing person. So, and also she was brought here from Massachusetts without,
Oh,
I mean, and Texas is not very
yeah,
friendly. So
no.
I remember she told me how when she got here with my dad into Texas, and they were driving, and they stopped at this like coffee shop or cafe, and the guy came up to them, my dad and my mother, who's Italian. She's 100% Italian.
Mhm.
She's dark, and it said, "We can't serve you, sir. We can't serve you. We can't serve your the." Because she's Mexican,
Okay.
and my dad was like, "She's not Mexican. She's Italian." And my mom's like,
Mhm.
"What?" She couldn't believe it. I mean, coming from Massachusetts, she was just stunned by this,
Mhm.
you know. And it was
Yeah.
straight out of Giant. You remember the movie that my
Well,
where that there's a scene in Giant, the movie,
yeah.
where he
Yeah.
brings his wife from Massachusetts, and the son they can't serve. I think his son's wife because she's
Mhm.
Mexican, and
Wow.
they end up in a fight.
Mhm.
He ends up fighting the guy. Of course, he gets his butt kicked.
Mhm.
That was who's that movie star that ended up being gay and dying of AIDS?
Rock Hudson?
Rock Hudson, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah,
Elizabeth Taylor, yeah.
I've never seen that, and I remember you telling me that story,
Hmm.
and just kind of the different reactions between your dad and your mom, and how, your mom basically was like, "Yeah, we're out of here," right?
Yeah,
Like it wa
yeah.
yeah.
Because yeah, to her that was the principle. I mean,
Yeah.
but my dad, of course, he
Right.
was older, and he wasn't from Massachusetts.
Yeah, so the issue is like, she's not Mexican,
Yeah.
it's like that was the issue for him, but your mom was
Yeah.
like, yeah, even if I was, like,
Yeah. That wouldn't
F
matter.
you, yeah, that
Yeah.
wouldn't matter." Yeah,
Well,
I
she
mean
grew
it
up. well, she grew up when there was prejudice against Italians. Well,
Yep.
she lived in an Italian neighborhood, but my grandparents especially told her there was a lot of prejudice against Italians. There's always prejudice against a new immigrant group.
Mhm.
And so I think she was very, I told you about how my grandfather used to go under the name Joe Kelzer, an Irish name. He used to box under that name because there was so much um, prejudice against Italians at that time.
Mhm.
So he's a little boxer, and he would go under the name, and people still came up to him. My mom would tell me, and come up would say, "Hey, Joe,"
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
his name was Salvatore. So
Salvatore. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh.
yeah,
How very revealing. But
yeah,
it doesn't it, I mean, and it really does, like, yeah, there's that discrimination and,
yeah,
certainly, men from different immigrant groups are, treated that way. But it is amazing to me too, or the lens with which women see things and men versus men in those moments, right?
yeah. That's probably true. But they were. Yeah, it was a different. There was also a difference in their generations. Okay,
Mhm.
she was
Mhm.
much younger than my dad, and
Mhm.
I just. But yeah, you're right. I think women do because women are. We know we have to fight all the time. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
so yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. But I just think, honestly, like, I mean, I know my mom's story. And, I always love hearing the stories about your mom and just what a badass she was. And
Yeah.
that, despite the fact that she was a single mom, she took
Hmm.
on giants and put herself
Yeah.
out there. And I think that Anita, I would just like to say to you, my friend, thank you for sharing that information, and from my
And
heart,
thank you for sharing yours too.
and
Really.
yeah, seriously, and from my heart to yours, your mom would be so proud of the woman that you are.
Um, Thank you. And same here because you know, um, I wish my mom were here because she would be leading the fight. I mean,
Yeah,
she would. She would
she
still
would.
be.
I
Yeah.
100% can see her doing that, and I can 100%, even though, towards the end, I mean, my mom was just so, oh, depressed and sad about,
I know
all of
that's
the
so
things that she was
horrible. Yeah.
witnessing, that,
Yeah.
despite that fact, I know that she would, if not, like, 100%, she would have been 85, if not 100% in the fight,
Yeah.
she would have certainly been cheering me on. And that's the woman that my mom was. She was supportive regardless of anything.
She was always fighting for the underdog.
Yep. Yeah. So,
Because unlike my mother, she was born with some privilege, right?
yes.
Because
Yeah.
she wasn't born of immigrants, and yet she was always fighting for the underdog.
Yeah. She was,
And
yeah, she
that's
was,
and you're
she was,
still doing that.
yeah, well, because it really is. It's one of those things that those are, formative,
Yeah.
that those
The
things
values that they.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and, and my mom's backstory too, like you said, I mean, she was in an affluent, she was raised in an affluent community, up on the North Shore, and my dad as well, very,
Hmm.
affluent, um, not old money, um,
Right.
but, nonetheless, very, privileged group, and, she was both of them were raised by Republican parents, and it
Yeah.
was, after they each voted for, Nixon in their first election, that
Oh
they were
no.
eligible to vote, and yes, they, like a lot of people who are raised by Republicans, get out into the real world and then see
Hmm.
things differently, and so they, very much the racial, divisions and inequities
Yeah.
were the things that, really kinda lit a fire under my parents' rear ends and changed, literally converted their worldview and,
Wow.
therefore their political affiliation. But I have to say, my mom, this is interesting though too, because I often wonder what kind of a life my mom would have ended up having, because now her biological father passed away when she was only 5 years old,
Hmm.
and her mom, it was, basically here you are, you're a widow and you have a young child, and now you have to figure out what's next. And she had been in like the secretarial pool, but now she
Yeah.
basically had to figure out a way to support herself and her child. And so she answered an ad in a local newspaper, um, put there by a widower who had a young daughter. I'm gonna say she was probably like junior high aged. And so they needed a live-in housekeeper. And she answered that ad and she said, well, I have that my daughter, she would have to come with me. And so it turned out that he was okay with that. Moved into the home, started working for him, and then eventually they ended up getting married. But that was
Okay. Wow.
kind of a marriage of convenience because,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember having conversations with my, grandmother, and her just always referring to, my mom's biological father as the love of her life, and so it was just the turn of events that brought
Yeah.
her where she was, and it's not that she didn't love and, grow to love my step-grandfather, and by the way, he was a wonderful stepfather to my mom, just a wonderful man, but it was interesting because I just wonder, like, how things would have been different for my mom had that not happened,
Yeah. Well, my mom
and it
had
just yeah.
yeah.
No, it well, and it speaks to again, it speaks to the times and just like the autonomy, financial autonomy of women,
Yeah. No, I
right?
know. They didn't have the kind of opportunities that they now have, although they're trying to take those away too now.
Yeah.
Um, but no, my mother started out, I mean, being from outside of Boston, a little town outside of
Mhm.
Boston.
Yeah.
Um, Shout out to Lawrence, Massachusetts. She was the president of the Youth for Kennedy, Youth for President club. She was the president of the youth club for Kennedy
Mhm.
because back then you had to be 21 to vote.
Mhm.
So if you were 18 or 19, you belonged to the Youth for Kennedy
Mhm.
organization. But yes,
Yeah.
you get to meet the Kennedys. They
Yeah.
came through there, Bobby Kennedy and John F. Kennedy. And then, of
That's so
course, then she
cool.
came to Texas, where JFK was shot. And then she
Mhm.
she watched Bobby Kennedy being shot and was traumatized even more.
Mhm.
And she always hated Texas because of
That. Mhm.
that that
Yeah.
JFK was murdered in Dallas, and it's kind of a I don't know, kind of a rough welcome to Texas story.
Yeah, I'll say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would definitely
So
set the tone. Yeah.
So did you also want to talk about some of the things that have gone on this week?
Sure. Yes, so,
Not in the
again,
last couple weeks. Have been
in the
crazy.
it's been a lot, and I mean, yes, there's all the court cases and, the things, with Aileen Cannon and the gag orders being constantly violated and,
Yeah,
fines
but I
being
don't
assessed, but I'm just gonna let me finish this, but I don't necessarily wanna talk about that stuff.
thank you. Thank you. I mean, let's just put that away. Okay, it was
Yes.
disgusting. It was about how Donald Trump cheats at everything he does, because that's what this
Mhm.
was all about.
Mhm.
Okay, this trial, that's what it really is about. It's not about a porn star and him having sex. All
Mhm.
that is gross and
Mhm.
sensationalism. But I would rather talk about some of the things that are going on right now that are just fantastic.
Mhm.
Like when we saw Joe Biden in Wisconsin yesterday,
Uh-huh.
opening up a new plant, a Microsoft AI plant that's going
Yes.
to create thousands of jobs. Now,
Yes.
this same exact place in Wisconsin is
Mhm.
where Donald Trump promised or made it. He actually came out and made an announcement that Foxconn was
Mhm.
going to be building this huge plant, and there were going to be thousands and thousands of jobs, 13,000 jobs, and he was offering them all these tax subsidies and all these other things. And it ended up, it was all just a big con, right?
What?
Yes, it was.
Wait.
Of course, I know that's shocking. That is so shocking that something Trump says is a con. But this is another one of those cons. Another one of those things he promised that were an empty promise. Another way that he lied to the American people. But
Mhm.
this Foxconn, this thing that Biden's doing
Mhm.
is so fantastic. He's bringing all these jobs into there, and they're going to be opening up this trade school. It's a pipeline for
Mhm.
people to work there,
Mhm.
and so it's just really exciting. And I think this is it. Kind of it's emblematic of what is going on right now.
Yes.
Biden right now has created over 850,000 manufacturing jobs in this
Mhm.
country, and
Mhm.
he's done that because of the Chips Act, the infrastructure bill, the
Mhm.
what else? The Inflation Reduction Act, which put all those billions into climate change,
Mhm.
and so that's why you're seeing all these things happening. And
Yes.
and you really don't hear a lot of talk about it, but this is happening all over the country right now.
No,
Manu-
and yeah, what we're hearing from mainstream media is the Trump cases, and Marjorie Taylor Greene calling for the ouster of Speaker Johnson, and chaos, and Republicans
yeah,
shooting puppies in the face.
that's exactly true. I mean, when you juxtapose Joe Biden going across the country, opening up these manufacturing plants,
Mhm.
doing all these great things,
Mhm.
fighting for reproductive freedom for women,
Mhm.
and then
Massive endorsements from
yes,
unions.
oh
Mhm.
my God, yes, and they were so enthusiastic, and the reason why is because Joe Biden is creating these jobs and these opportunities for unions that they haven't had in decades.
Yep. Yep.
I mean,
So
he
so
meant it
some yeah, so some
when he said he'd be the
specifics.
greatest. Yeah.
Yeah, no, some specifics on the situation. And by the way, Donald Trump said, referred to the Foxconn deal as and the facility as it's really going to be the eighth wonder of the world. Believe me,
Oh
I
my
can tell you
God.
this, I can tell you.
Yeah.
So again, a bunch of bullshit and puffery from
Baloney, and
Donald Trump.
it cost. And by the way, they bulldozed over 100
Yes,
homes to build
yes,
this, and it never happened.
exactly.
And
So
the Ford plant in Ohio that he
yep.
promised would not shut down. Don't sell your
Hmm.
houses. Don't sell your
Hmm.
houses. And of course, they lost their jobs and they
Yep,
had to sell their houses.
exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah, so okay, so according the some key facts to this deal in Wisconsin. According to the
Okay.
White House, and I'm reading from Forbes. This is Forbes
Okay.
reporting, and we both know that Fox is also reporting on this. So anyway,
Yes, they've
so
had to. Yeah.
yes. So according to the White House, the data center will create 2,300 union construction jobs and 2,000 permanent jobs. Microsoft has also committed to working with the state-run Gateway Technical College to train 1,000 workers for data center and STEM roles and train 1,000 business leaders to adopt AI in their operations. The White House statement highlights the data center project as a part of Biden's investing in America, which I love that verbiage.
I do too. Yeah.
Push,
And he
yeah,
means it.
push.
He means
And
it.
this because and so basically, so it goes on real quick. So push to mobilize private sector investments to create manufacturing jobs in the semiconductors, clean energy, and AI industries. And I love. I'm going to say, and I've said this to you. I
Mhm.
love that he used the word invest
Yeah.
because so much of the opposition talks about spending and
Yeah.
we
And
can't.
we're investing. Yep.
We're investing. This is
Hmm.
what is the difference. No, we are investing, not
And what's the
spend
name of that town? What's the name of that town in Wisconsin?
racing.
Okay. There's a town that's going to be saved by
Yes.
Bidenomics, by what he's doing right now. And there's
Yep.
towns all over this country, in Pennsylvania and Ohio and all over the Midwest and all over the
Mhm.
country, that are being saved. Do you remember those towns that are just dilapidated and everything's being shut
Mhm.
down? The plants are being shut down and boarded up.
Yes. Yeah.
Guess what? Biden is reopening them and revitalizing those towns because he's investing in them.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely. So yeah, that's a an amazing story coming out in the last week. And
yeah.
yeah.
I want to talk also about. I know this is a weird segue, but the stuff with the New York Times,
Mhm.
because it's really got me heaved this little spat they're having with the White House. Apparently, they're
Mhm.
pissed off because Joe Biden won't sit down with the New York Times, who are entitled to a presidential interview, of course. You know that, right,
Mhm.
Karen? It's in the
Oh,
rule book.
oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna look that up. Can I
Yeah,
Google
go ahead.
that? Is that
No,
Googleable?
don't
Oh,
Google it.
oh, okay.
It just is.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So they're pissed off about this, and they're saying, well, they can't, they're not going to be, they're not working for Joe Biden. And this is so stupid. Nobody's asking them to be a propagandist for Joe Biden. They're
Nope.
asking them to be pro democracy.
Mhm.
So when I hear these stories about Donald Trump here right now, just last night or the other
Mhm.
night, meeting with oil executives, okay,
Yeah.
and promising them they can write his environmental agenda if they give him billions to fund his campaign. This is not a joke. Where is the
Yeah.
New York Times?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and he's every day he's these absurd posts he put and calling people names and just put out a picture of what's his name, the district attorney of Manhattan, Alvin Braggs,
Alvin Braggs,
and
yep.
it says, I think across it says asshole. I mean, this is a guy. This is a Republican nominee for president, guys,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he's on trial for cheating in the last election. Okay,
Right.
and now
Yeah.
he's just everything that that's happening. It's everybody else's fault.
Mhm.
You know
It's a persecution. He's the
the
most
persecution
persecuted.
by Joe Biden.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, by Joe Biden's
they're taking
DOJ.
away his speech,
Yeah.
his gag order, because he can't threaten witnesses or
Mhm.
jurors, or that somehow that's an infringement on his freedom of speech.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and every day he's out there ranting and raving and being a lunatic, and
Projecting,
yeah,
saying that this is and
but we,
where we know we are old enough to remember when Donald Trump weaponized the DOJ using
yeah,
Bill Barr against political opponents.
yeah. Oh my God, yes, he went after an Obama guy because and had him charged with being a foreign agent, an unregistered foreign agent, because so
Mhm.
many of the Trump people were being charged with being an unregistered foreign agent. So he had to
Mhm.
balance it out, and it turns out there was nothing there. It was just patently false.
Yeah.
But that's the way, and he's going to be worse, guys. He's already promising to be on a revenge tour. Okay,
Yeah.
so that Department of Justice, and he's always felt like they should do his bidding.
Mhm.
So every time he accuses the Biden administration of being in cahoots with the Justice Department or whatever, it's just
Mhm.
projection, okay?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's exactly how he runs things.
Well, and it goes again, and we talk about this, and thankfully other people are starting to talk about this. And I think it's worth mentioning every single episode something about Project 2025 and bringing people's attention to it,
Yeah,
and just how it affects every single issue that you say you care about, whether it's the climate, whether it's abortion rights,
yeah.
whatever it is.
Civil rights, LGBTQ rights,
Yes.
everything,
Mhm.
everything. Just social justice. Period.
This episode of True Blue Politics is brought to you in part by Night Sky Woodworks, featuring gorgeous products like cutting boards, ooh, cheese and charcuterie boards, ah, and beautiful tea light holders, all fine handcrafted in their Chicago, Illinois wood shop. Check out their in-stock designs today or message your custom order request on their Etsy shop today by visiting etsy.com/shop/nightsky, NITESKYE Woodworks. We couldn't do this without our loyal listeners and love hearing from you. So please give us some
That's right.
stars and review if you are so inclined wherever you get this podcast.
Please, please, please.
True Blue Politics is sponsored by our wonderful True Blue crew of listeners and our supporters on Patreon. As a small startup podcast, our Patreon members help us pay the bills to keep our podcast running and also allow us to keep investing in equipment upgrades for even better quality content in the future. When you sign up as a monthly TruBlu crew member at even just $5, you instantly unlock our private TruBlu pod chat and full episodes a day earlier than everyone else, without ads in the middle. That sounds pretty sweet.
That is pretty sweet. Because I hate ads.
I know, me too. Upwards from there, we've made even more perks available, like having your name shouted out at the end of our show and a personal Zoom call with me and Anita to discuss ways to overthrow the GOP.
That's right.
If you would like to become a Patreon subscriber at any level, go to patreon.com/TRUBLU Politics Podcast. And as always,
Yay.
thank you. Mwah.
See, like we've talked about this. There's a video of a young Black woman, pro-Palestinian protester, in Mississippi at Ole Miss, and there's like 50 white frat boys attacking her with this racist attack, calling, making gorilla sounds and chimpanzee sounds and just horrible. And then they start chanting, "We want Trump. We want Trump."
Yep.
These are the people you will be empowering if you vote for Trump, or if you vote for Robert Kennedy, and that basically is a vote for Trump.
Yes, because again, we have
or anybody else,
right,
but Joe Biden,
we have an electoral college,
Mm-hmm.
and the only path to the White House is 270 votes. And if there's a third
Electoral votes,
candidate, what did I say? Yeah, electoral votes.
You said votes. That's right.
Yes, electoral votes. And if they are pulled away from President Biden, as they were in 2016 away from Hillary Clinton, as they were away from Al Gore in 2000, with the Nader.
We've seen how this plays out. We've seen how this plays out.
I mean, and so I was, and I just want to say this and then circle back over to what you were saying about, these people at Ole Miss. The fact of the matter is, I mean, think about it, where we would be with the environment if Gore had been elected.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine. That was his thing.
Where the Supreme Court would be. We would not have Roe overturned. And in fact, we can't say for sure, but there's a possibility that Roe would have been codified,
Yeah, it would have never been overturned if
it certainly would never have been overturned.
Yeah.
Right. But so back to, so Ole Miss. So our friends at Global Project Against Hate and Extremism that do great work on reporting on these right-wing extremist organization and really done a lot of work on Project 2025. So they also have an article from back in March on their site. And so it said, this week, the Proud Boys looked more like the Proud Boys of 2020 and took a more direct role in the elections. The Cape Fear Proud Boys, based in North Carolina, issued a statement on how their followers should vote in the new Hanover and Pender counties, explicitly endorsing Trump as their preference, along with several other candidates. They also organized an election integrity crew, which consisted of poll
We know
watchers.
what that means.
Yes.
Yeah.
To monitor ballots for any discrepancies. There was only one public instance of their election integrity crew supposedly finding a seat missing on a ballot before issuing a statement correcting their observation. So these are also the people that, with Trump being reinstalled, would be, I'm going to speculate and say, because we know that they're prone to violence, the jackboot thugs for Donald Trump.
Yeah, it's just, it still shocks me that anybody would vote for him again. I mean, after what, 400,000 people dead of COVID, his vice president being chased out by a lynch mob out of the Capitol. I mean, just the absurdity of his whole presidency. It was one trauma after another. There was the Muslim ban, the child separation stuff, just the environmental things like, gutting the Clean Air, Clean Water Act, appointing justices that were overturned Roe v. Wade. I mean, just so much.
Yeah, pulled us out of
And
the Paris Accord, right?
pulled us out of the Paris Agreement, pulled us out of the Iran Agreement, which, by the
Yep.
way, has effect. Now we see the results of that because
Yes.
Iran, we would be able to negotiate with Iran right now. We
Mhm.
would be able to talk. We would have open dialogue with Iran right now.
Yes.
Imagine how that would be different if we
Right.
had that.
Yeah.
He gave Jerusalem. He just made the put the embassy in Jerusalem. Um, just without no conditions.
Mhm.
Just said, here you go, which is something we used to use as a bargaining tool, so we'd have some leverage. I mean,
Mhm.
he just didn't know what he was doing ever,
Yeah.
and he would just, it's like I said, he's a lot, right. He's meeting with oil company execs to write his environmental agenda. He's going to allow the Russians to write his foreign policy agenda. By
Yeah.
the way, don't forget, he wanted Russia to
Mhm.
form a agreement. I mean, a team
Mhm.
with the United States to do cybersecurity
Yep. Yes.
after they interfered with our elections. I mean,
Yep.
this is what we're doing. He doesn't know what he's doing.
No.
That's why he's an empty vessel. He only cares about his own, gratifications,
Mhm.
and the pomp and circumstance.
Right.
So of being president, right?
Yeah.
So what happens with people like him is, you saw this even with George W. Bush, okay?
Mhm.
And they allow other people to and Donald Trump falls for everything, right? He stands
Right.
for nothing, falls for everything.
Yes.
So the people he has surrounding him are lunatics.
Yes.
They're lunatics. The Mike Pillow guy, and
Yeah.
what's the other guy? The Michael Flynn,
Michael
and
Flynn. Mhm.
yes,
Well,
Steve Bannon, and
Steve Bannon, Cash
Carrie Lake. I
Patel,
mean,
Carrie
yeah, Cash
Lake.
Patel. Just
Mhm.
insane people. And these are the people he will surround himself with,
Stephen
who do not,
Miller. Mhm.
just Stephen Miller, who don't give a shit about what's, about the Americans, about
Civil
um,
rights,
civil rights,
protection, yeah,
women's rights.
protections, the rule of
Yes,
law.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The rule of law only applies to everybody else, doesn't apply to them. And it's still the same. That's how they think, that
Mhm.
Republicans should never be prosecuted. That's why you have
Mhm.
Marjorie Trader Green over there saying we should defund the FBI
Mhm.
because they're going after Republicans, which, I mean, this is ridiculous, very dangerous precedent to send to when you're saying, well, you're investigating my guy, so we want to defund you. If Congress does that
Mhm.
and they have that kind of leverage over the Department of Justice,
Yes, which they will with Project 2025. They want to completely
exact.
take
Well,
away
yeah,
the independence.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole point. Yeah,
Yeah. They're
consolidating everything in the executive branch.
yes.
And it amazes me that these Republicans are going along with this because it's going to take away all their power.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
they think it doesn't really matter because,
Because they're gonna go after the same people that they hate,
yeah,
and this is
yeah,
why I am sorry, but I'm not gonna give any of these Republicans any kind of an out for, as
burn the
far as
boat. Yeah,
yeah, this they're all in. They set the stage. They built the foundation for this
hmm
crap house that we're all living in right now. And I just it's I
Well,
mean
right
yeah.
now we have to take, right now, to fight fascism and to, the we are it's existential threat, and so
Yes.
yes, they can be our allies. But what is it?
Sure, but I'm talking about
The
the
professional
ones
left say, they
yes.
say, um, everybody, only us on the steering. How do they say it?
Uh, oh
Everybody in
god.
the car, but we're at the
Yeah.
steering wheel or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, but not on
Yeah,
the
only one,
oh
not at the
god.
steering wheel. But the
Ugh.
point is,
Yes.
okay, the point is, they can go
Never
along. They
always
cannot be left.
fool
They
me
cannot be in
once,
charge. Yes,
never
never
again.
fool me again. Yeah, there's a chicken in every
Everybody in
oven.
the car, but get your grubby hands off the steering wheel. Yeah,
That's it.
something something like that. Yeah, it's worth it way more.
Something like
But
that. But we have to. They have to be our allies right now And
No, and I'm honestly wait, let me just clarify. I'm actually talking about the same shitbags that are in currently in the Senate, in the House, are, just silently going along with
oh
all
yeah,
of the
yeah,
insurrectionists, the sedition caucus people, those are the people. It's
they're
just
good
like,
Germans. Yeah.
yeah, totally.
Um, and they're going to go, and this is what's frightening when I see these polls.
Mhm.
When CNN comes out with a poll, and it turns out it looks like an outlier because it had Trump up by 6, and now the polls are showing Biden up by 4, or Biden up by 5. But
Mhm.
anyway, when I see these polls, and guess what?
Hmm.
That makes people less eager, or more reluctant to fight Trump. And even in the justice system, judges start getting nervous if they think Donald Trump is going to win the presidency.
Yeah.
Even, and other countries see it and they're like, oh, yeah, looks like Trump's going to be back again. Netanyahu, let's go all the way, do whatever we want, right?
Right.
Because Trump's going to be back again. Nobody's going to do anything. Why should we
Mhm.
listen to Biden?
Right. Right.
So that's what frightens me. I think it's ignore the polls is what I'm saying, okay? Unless they're good polls for us.
What?
Okay.
Wait, what? Okay, whoa, can I get this record oh, wait, it is being recorded.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, I ignore all the
I
I
know,
freak
I
out at
know.
all polls because that's just the way I am. I'm a Democratic bedwetter professionally.
Yeah.
And so I call Karen, I go, Karen,
Yes.
what
Yes.
the hell is happening? Oh my God.
Yes.
And she has to talk me off the ledge.
Yes.
That's why I call her because I know she will talk me off
Well,
the ledge.
and likewise, and yeah, but it
Yeah, but
really
I'm known for being a freak, freaking out over these polls,
yeah,
calling Karen in the middle of the night. Oh my God, did you see the New York Times poll?
well, and it's just it's hard. Well, this is the thing. It's hard not to, and I don't think, you're not alone. I think there's a lot, and rightfully so, and there should be a lot of anxiety around these numbers, and just the even
And it's
possibility, and
depressing.
it's
Yes, it's
depressing, and the fact
depressing
that
to think that anybody would support him still. I mean,
I know,
seriously,
or go along with it,
go along. Well, they're going along with him because they're just opportunists. I was listening
they're
to the
pro-
Bulwark, and
yeah.
they were just mystified.
Hmm.
You had Tim Miller and some other guy, and what's her name? Longfelt. She's that woman that's always on the Bulwark, and they
Hmm.
were talking about the Republicans they know and
Hmm.
how shocked they were because
Hmm.
they actually believed the bullshit that Republicans actually cared about stuff and they had principles. And so they were shocked when it turns out it was all a lie. It was all fraud. And yet those are the never Trumpers, the people that were the true believers. Like you see this lieutenant governor, the former lieutenant governor in Georgia,
Hmm.
this guy wants, abortion banned at conception, all these other things. He's
Yes.
truly a true conservative, okay, in the
Yeah.
old sense of the
Yeah.
word. And he's like, but I can't vote for Donald Trump. And he's putting his support behind Joe Biden
Yeah.
because he's voting for somebody decent that he disagrees with on policy, okay.
Mhm, mhm.
And that's what he is so rare. I mean,
Yes.
how often have you seen that? The people on the Bulwark, like Tim Miller, him, he's gay, and the woman was gay also. And they said we were kind of squishy rhinos. We thought, they don't like gay people. They brought up Santorum, who was
Mhm,
really anti-gay,
mhm.
and how they want to, but they just felt like it was just like, they were big tent and it didn't really matter that much.
Oh my
And
god.
then, yeah, seriously. And they went along with this.
Oh god.
And so but it's rare to see somebody like this lieutenant governor. Oh my God.
Mhm.
Jeff Duncan. Okay. And this is, he wrote a column, I guess for the New York Times, or I don't remember where it appeared, but it was, basically Donald Trump is just everything he says he's against. I mean, he's just immoral. He doesn't care. He doesn't really stand for anything.
Mhm.
and you've got Joe Biden over here, who's a decent person. I mean, Donald Trump there is nothing good about him. And
Mhm.
I'm not just saying that because I hate him and because he's a Republican. There is not one good redeeming characteristic in Donald Trump. If I challenge anyone to name one.
Yeah.
Even Robert De Niro said he could never play Donald Trump. He could never,
Mhm.
because he cannot find, even in his worst character, the worst characters he's portrayed, he could
Mhm.
find a redeeming characteristic in them.
Yeah.
But with Donald Trump, you can't. You can't.
No.
I challenge you. I mean, seriously, there is nothing.
There's
There's nothing
nothing.
there.
There's absolutely nothing. I mean, he is
And
the most vile, and I mean, the fact that there are these anybody in the Republican Party, anybody in this
mhm.
country that has heard the things that he has said, even in the lead up to 2016. It is, you have got to have been
I
in a
know.
coma or under a rock. If this guy didn't,
He's so immature. He's such a child. He's a toddler. They have
his,
to entertain him all the time. They
yeah,
have to give him things to play with in court because he
yeah,
can't be quiet
yeah,
and he falls asleep. He's a
hmm,
toddler.
yeah.
I
And
heard
he,
they were, go ahead.
oh, no, and I was gonna say even, toddlers are, you can, kind of reason with, or you can, at least as the adult, get them to understand that it's
Well,
like,
yeah, he's a
you
badly
know,
behaved toddler
yes.
a brat. He's a brat.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the best way to describe him, actually. I heard
Mhm,
on Midas Touch late last night when I couldn't sleep because I was having nightmares about a fascist takeover of the United States.
mhm.
Um, they had they
Isn't that
Midas
every night?
Touch. Yes, it's every night. That's the way I do. That's what I do
That's the way
now.
you roll. Mhm,
Yes, that's the way I roll now. And this woman, she was talking about, she was showing some, I guess, these rallies, and there were grown men in there
mhm.
with diapers that said real men wear diapers. This is their
Oh,
way. I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. I didn't dream
oh,
this. I promise.
oh my god.
Yeah. So yeah.
Oh my
Well,
god.
there are
Anita,
rumors, pretty good
come
rumors.
on. That
Donald Trump
had
wears a diaper.
no, that had to be
So
The Onion. That was in The Onion.
no, it was Midas Touch. There was a woman
Oh,
who stuck doing the midnight. Midas Touch comes out every 5 minutes with the stories they break. And
oh my
so
god.
they have somebody on during the night. It was this poor woman having to report this.
Oh my god. Oh my
I mean,
god.
seriously,
What the
does it
fuck?
surprise you? I mean,
No, I mean, but it's like, why? How? Why do we have to? This is just like, I mean,
it's a cult.
I feel it's a cult, and I feel like we dropped acid or something. Like,
Yeah,
what the hell is going on?
yeah. And
Ah,
these people, you know what? What's his name? Carl. What's his last name? Carl.
Carl
That was
Frisch?
on Carl
Carl Frisch?
Frisch. He said
Yes.
something very smart because you see a lot of these people at his rallies claim to be these evangelical Christians, right?
Yeah.
And he said, no, you don't get it. A lot of liberals don't get it.
Hmm.
They, they love him not because they know he's not a Christian, but they know they're not really Christians.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't follow anything Jesus said. They don't
Exactly.
believe any of that shit.
Yep. Yeah.
They've used it as a cover for their racism
Hmm.
and their xenophobia
Yeah.
and the misogyny and whatever
Yes.
else. Because
Yeah.
back in the day, in
Hmm.
segregation, you had the biggest, the people that were screaming the loudest about, segregation. I mean integration, were so-called Christians.
Hmm.
They also upheld slavery. I mean,
Hmm.
they used Christianity to justify slavery.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is something they do.
Well,
You know,
they're irrational. They use zero logic. They cannot look at an issue or be posed with a question and be able to put any real thought into it. Even if you apply logic to a situation and show them that like what they're saying is completely irrational and doesn't make any sense, and that there are examples that would completely turn over what
Well,
their stance on something
because
is,
they
right?
have cognitive dissonance.
Cognitive dissonance. And it's
Yeah.
just like, so it really is something that is taken such hold of them. And it's something that without a lot of work and just I mean, I do think that people can turn around, and I have, people that I know that have been able to that were once, completely racist or whatever, and they turned it around because something happened in their life where they, were able to be
Well, they
flexible enough
became
to change
self-aware of
their
it. Yeah.
be more self-aware. But,
Yeah.
like, it just when you have and I've been having these conversations. I know it's kind of like a newer phenomenon for a lot of people, but you and I, I all our lives, particularly with racism,
Hmm.
have been disrupting it and pushing back against it when we hear it. And I
Yeah.
remember being in my 20s, and there was somebody who I counted as a pretty good friend, and um, I remember, it kind of came out to me that, he was racist. And
Yeah.
there was and I just said, I go, okay, but this was somebody that I worked with, and he worked closely with two African American men, and he loved them. He got along with them. They shared their family stories, and I'm sure that he was guarded on some of his family legacy and the way they felt about black people in particular. But I remember having this conversation, and it came out, and I said, okay, but what about, Gil and Linwood? And he's like, "Well, what about him?" I said, "Well," I go, "I mean, if you're making a blanket statement about all black people or this, all black people or that," I'm like, "What about Linwood and Gil?" And he said, "Well, they're different." And I said, "Okay, do you
But
understand that
yeah,
that
but that's
doesn't."
common. That's common with
No, I know,
racists.
but that no,
Yeah.
no, no, but that's common, and that's what I
Yeah.
mean. But it's like, how
Mhm.
many but how many people, feel that
No,
way,
my
and
my
then
best
and
friend from yes, when
yeah,
my best friend from when I was a child, I mean, I'm talking 8 years old, and we grew up together and everything. And then I remember talking to her about the Obamas. I can't remember what we were talking about, but she said, "Yeah, but they're not really black."
right.
Michelle and Barack Obama.
Right, so
And
again, but this is the thing, it defies logic. When you apply logic and show them that how that it doesn't make any
it doesn't
sense.
defy their logic, because what they're really saying is that if black people behave this way, they're okay. It's that they don't feel like they're a threat or whatever. To them, I mean, to racists, they can have both. They can say I have a best friend that's black and still be a racist. I mean, there are people that are married to black people that are or Hispanics and will tell you they're not racist, or they have children, I mean, relatives. Look at Mark Meadows. He says he had a grandson that was half black, and we know Mark Meadows is a racist.
Right.
They
Look, all I'm saying is, to me, it doesn't make any sense. It defies logic.
but
It
they believe in
defies
the
all logic.
stereotype. But they
I
believe
don't,
in a
and you know what? I'm
stereotype.
not, you know what though, Anita? I'm not even willing to even get that far into their brains to see what makes them tick. As a rational person who is fair-minded and looks at things as they are, okay, when I have those conversations with people, I'm going to say, it defies all logic. What you just said, all black people are this, but there are the exceptions, then all black people can, now that just completely discounts and
Well, of course, but it
erases what you
defies all
just said.
logic. It defies all
That's
logic,
all.
but
Yeah, that's
they
all I'm
don't
saying.
care.
No,
Yeah,
I
they
know
don't
they don't
care.
care. I'm not
Yeah,
saying I'm not even going there. I'm just
yeah.
saying, for
Well,
me, it
I
defies all logic, and
but
so
you knew he was a
that's
racist then. You knew he
yes,
was a racist.
yes, and
I knew my friend was a
right,
racist. I said, "Oh my God, she's a racist." And
yes,
honestly, it defies all logic that I didn't see that before, or that you didn't see that before. I mean, seriously, how do we not see that?
Well, because there weren't conversations where they revealed that.
Maybe they did, and maybe we just weren't paying attention.
No, because at that point, honestly, I hadn't known him that long. It would have been maybe a couple of months, and then he came
Well,
out with that.
well, I grew up with this woman,
Yeah.
and honestly, she said, I remember there was a lot of black people in that. We used to hang out, all of us, and so I would, we never. I guess you're right. We never had that conversation that she just
Mhm.
thought certain black. I mean, I don't even like talking about it because it's just disgusting.
Mhm. Yeah.
You
No, I
know?
know. Yeah, I mean, but again, I mean, I think that, in these conversations, again, that we need to be having, and I think that, like I said, you and I have been pushing back against that and disrupting it. And I think that
Yeah,
it is an important thing. It's an important thing because it
it's always
challenges it.
important. Yeah,
It
whether
disrupts
it's
it and it
yeah.
challenges it. Yeah.
Anytime you hear a joke, a racist joke, an anti-Semitic joke,
Mhm.
even a misogynist joke, you have to you can't just say, well, I didn't think that was funny, or you can say that if you have to stand up to that joke, you have to
Yeah.
say that wasn't funny
Yeah.
because for too often we just laugh along and we say, oh, those because they say, can't you take a joke? Why
Yes.
can't you
Well,
take a joke?
and now we have professional comedians who are crying about, that we can't take a joke.
Yeah, no, they just can't grow up and they won't evolve. And well, I
Yeah.
know we've talked about this how we have some of these older white male comedians who seem to think that we should think they are still funny when they're telling racist, misogynist, homophobic jokes.
Right.
And just like Kevin said,
Mhm.
I mean, if
Kevin
you
from
tell
DC, our friend from
Kevin from
Stephanie
DC,
Miller.
hey
Mhm.
Kevin,
Hey, Kevin.
if you try to wear blackface now, that used
Mhm.
to be hilarious. And there were probably comedians. They thought that was hilarious. There had to be there was probably comedians that said, "Hey, why can't I wear blackface anymore?" Cancel
Right.
culture. I mean, you know,
Cancel
I mean,
culture. Oh, it's
cancel culture.
so politically correct. No,
You're
it's called
woke. It's
being an asshole and
yeah,
not
yeah,
nobody
yeah.
wants that. Okay? The public
No,
isn't buying it. You're not putting out product that is consumable to people that people want to consume or pay for. That's what it
yeah.
is.
Yeah, they used to think a lot of things were funny. Now we
Yeah.
realize, they're hurtful.
Yeah.
They're hurtful. If they're hurtful, you're punching down.
Yeah.
And if you have to punch down to be funny, you're not funny.
Right. You and I have talked about this too. I mean, I remember, 90s, 80s, 90s cinema where, movies that we watched where date rape was,
16 candles, 16
yeah.
candles.
Oh,
Remember
it's funny. Yeah.
they had the girl
Passed
in the bed
out.
passed
Yeah.
out, and they said, well, she's passed out, you know, don't worry about it. Go ahead and nap. I mean, basically they were passing her around. And that was
Yeah.
hilarious, wasn't it? How about I was watching Splash. And there's a scene with John Candy's character is
Hmm.
looking. He's on these steps and he's laying down, looking at the women underneath their dresses, their skirts as they walk by.
Yeah.
That's not
Right.
funny. That's not funny.
No. No.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, my mind, I just kind of paused because I'm thinking, oh, yeah, Grease. Grease was another one where they had that.
that's right. They did that in Greece too. That's right.
Yes.
Even his song, when there's the song that he sings
We
about
go
in the
we go together. No, 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 not no, was
no,
it
no,
that one?
no, the one where he talks about meeting her Sandy
Yes,
and yeah,
yeah, yes. Summer
and he
Nights.
talked. Yeah, did she resist? And he said,
Yes.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, and I know, and you know what? There's going to be some people, especially some older white dudes, that say,
mhm.
"Hey, that's so funny. You guys just can't take a joke.
Yeah, you're too sensitive
You're too
and yeah,
sensitive." Yeah,
yeah.
but you can be funny. Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen
Mhm,
Colbert, they do
mhm,
it every night, and
mhm,
they're funny. That's
mhm.
why they have their own shows,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they don't have to do that.
exactly, and I know, we were talking about, the Tom Brady roast, and
Oh my God, that was
yeah,
so bad. It was
yeah,
so bad. It was just, and I talked to Karen afterwards about this. It was just, I had to walk. My husband was there. He came home and he was like, "Hey, I heard the Tom Brady roast. can you turn on Netflix? I heard the Tom Brady, but roast was hilarious. Of course, I'm sure his middle-aged white guy friends probably thought it
Right,
was hilarious. So I
right.
turned it on, and I'm sitting there, and it's just so it was so
Cringy,
bad, and
cringy.
it's 80s locker room humor.
Mhm,
It really is. It's just
mhm.
awful. I suggest not watching it if you
Yeah.
haven't,
So, yeah, it
subjected yourself.
really is it has to do with evolution, and it has to do with these guys that were raised they're some of them are contemporaries of ours, right?
Yeah.
Where they just refuse to evolve and grow and progress. That's
Now
really what it comes down to.
it is, and you know what? I got to give it to David because he was like, "Yeah, this is pretty bad,"
Yeah.
and didn't finish watching it. And we talked about how much Maya would hate it. Our daughter,
Mhm.
our 25-year-old daughter, would hate it. Oh my god,
Yeah.
yeah, because that's just not funny. And these people like Bill Maher, he thinks that if people aren't still laughing at him, it's their fault.
Yes.
It's him. It's not
Yes.
them. He's not funny. His Islamophobia isn't funny anymore. His
No.
racist jokes aren't funny anymore.
Yeah.
And
It's
they're telling him that. And
right.
so he's like, I'm cool. I used to be cool. What's happening here? You guys are supposed to still be laughing, and they're not. And he gets offended, and he thinks, and he's angry at everybody. It's everybody else's fault. It's
Mhm.
woke culture.
Yeah,
It's
nobody
political
wants to
correctness.
buy yeah, nobody wants to buy your lime green dial, phone landline,
Yeah, yeah.
dial up landline,
They
I mean,
don't.
it's just
They
I
don't
mean,
want your avocado kitchen anymore.
they don't want your avocado kitchen anymore.
Mm-mm.
I mean, it's just like this it's like we have changed, we have evolved, we've grown. That's the thing. It's like we're trying to progress. Okay?
Yeah,
And some of
I've
us
gotten.
you want to take us back. No, we're not going back. This is what it is.
Mm-mm.
This is what the resistance is. We are resisting and we are not buying your crap anymore. And we're going
And
to move
and
our rights ahead because we want
and
to have everybody be equal citizens in a
that's right.
free society.
And it really isn't funny if you're hurting somebody. Okay, if you're punching
No.
down, if you're hurting somebody's feelings, that's what you find funny. If you think that's funny
Yeah.
when you're hurting other people, then there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
my daughter and I got in this conversation about pronouns,
Mhm.
and um, she got angry at me because our niece, who's non-binary, was going by they, okay, and I didn't understand it, and I was like, what, we're just not gonna get. And I was kind of down on it. And then I saw something and they explained it and they said, look, when if somebody leaves something, let's say at the library, and you go, oh, they left their book, it's because
Mhm.
you don't know whether it's a uh,
He
what
or
pronoun to
she.
use, a he or
Mhm.
she. So
Mhm.
I mean, and not only that, but who does
Who
it hurt?
cares? It
Who
doesn't hurt
cares?
anybody.
You know what? If I screw up once in a while on the pronoun,
Right.
that's okay. If you
Right.
screw up because you're a 50-something-year-old woman who's trying to,
Yeah.
doesn't want to hurt, you're trying to do the right thing and
Absolutely.
be
And I trip
sensitive.
on I mean, I've talked about it because my son Liam is trans and said, listen, I go, please be patient. And of course he was like 100%, because before he went to that place, where he decided that he wanted to, transition, he
Hmm.
had therapy. And as a part of therapy was also helping navigate your family members and your parents in
Yeah,
particular, and being patient and understanding, and allowing grace for getting it wrong sometimes and stepping on
yeah,
pronouns. And I mean, it's much less seldom, but there are those times when in whatever moment I'm in where, I'll make a slip and then I'll immediately, recognize it and, correct it. But,
but
yeah,
you're
I mean,
trying.
but that's the thing, and so the point is that we have to progress forward, and I think that, you cited some of the comedians who are absolutely, understanding that. and sensitive to that. And that, I was talking about, we've been watching, Liam and I have been watching the live broadcasts. Everybody's in LA with John Mulaney.
Oh, I heard about that. Is it
And I
funny?
have to say, it is it's live, right? And it is
Mhm.
so, I mean, it's like, you don't know, it's unexpected every night. Like, what's going to happen? Because it's like there's somewhat of a structure to it, but it's very
Yeah.
much, a lot of it is just kind of authentic conversation. And, just so there, there are these really clunky parts, and it's just, but it is something about it, because I am such a fan of his, and because
Yeah,
not
he's
only is
funny.
he's a local guy, he did The Horse in the Hospital.
He's a
He
horse in the
doesn't
hospital guy.
Yes,
Yeah.
he doesn't punch down, and he's just, I really appreciate so much, and, he's not insulting anybody, I mean,
No,
to this
you don't
day,
have
unless I
to.
no, and,
It
like, to this day, unless I missed something, he hasn't done that. He doesn't insult people,
No, the
and he
comedians that are pissed off that they can't do that anymore, really,
Right,
they think that's why they were funny, and maybe
yeah,
that people thought they were funny back then, but,
right,
it's bad for business too. I mean, the Boy Scouts, or not the boy
mhm,
did you hear this total freak out about this? The
uh-huh,
Boy
yes,
Scouts are changing their name to Scouting, okay? Or
mhm,
just I think that's what it is, Scouting.
mhm.
Boys, just
Scouts
Scouting.
Scouts of America, or yeah,
The Scouts of America, something like that.
yeah,
And so there's a total freak out. But honestly, Boy Scouts were becoming, nobody was joining the Boy Scouts. And I think that's why they did it, because it has to be more inclusive.
sure,
And their
yeah.
complaint was, how will we know if they're, what do we call Girl Scout cookies? And I'm like, what?
Oh, for God's sakes.
I
Oh my
know.
God.
Like there's little Girl Scouts
Seriously,
and they're cooking
if
and
this
making
is
bacon.
seriously,
Yeah.
and if this is the biggest dilemma that you have,
Yeah, you got it
I
pretty good.
mean, really?
That's true.
Seriously.
I mean,
God.
that's what they're whining about on Fox
Yeah.
News. This is what they whine about. They whine about
Yes.
M&Ms and M's and their tennis
Yeah.
shoes,
Gas
and let's see what else.
stoves.
Gas stoves. I mean, these people, they really look far and wide for something to bitch about. And they all
Seriously.
I mean, seriously, we are worried about
Yeah.
here in Texas.
Meanwhile,
Yeah, meanwhile,
meanwhile, 64 million, as of several months ago, 64 million women in this country are being forced to
yeah.
carry their rapist
No,
babies.
that's 64. No, I think it's 64,000. Yes,
Is it
64,000. 26,000 of them in Texas.
111 billion?
Yeah, 11 billion women.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're right. I'm sorry.
Well,
I take it back.
they're working up to that. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so this
But
was, let's see, as of January 24th, 2024, as reported by NBC News, 64,000 women and girls became pregnant due to rape in states with abortion ban study estimates.
yeah, and that every
That was
year that,
January. Mhm.
yes. So, and I think it was 90 something thousand last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it honestly, seriously, there's some real problems in this country, and
Yes.
it's not gas stoves,
It's not
it's
gas
not
stoves, it's not
scouting,
changing the
it's
name to
not
scouting.
M&Ms, it's
It's
not Bud
not
Light.
It's not, mediocre, middle-aged, or old white men being canceled because their
Oh
shit
no,
isn't
that's the
funny
worst thing.
anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. Those, and they're always millionaires too. They're whining
Yeah.
about how they're being mistreated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wah, wah. Anyway, well, on that note, um,
Hmm.
I would like to, again, wish you a very happy Mother's Day, and do
You
you have
too.
any
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank
Yes.
you. Do you have any plans for the weekend, for this Mother's Day weekend?
I don't know, because I know my daughter and her boyfriend and my son and his girlfriend are all going to be here, my husband and
Mhm.
me.
Mhm.
So we'll see. It's a surprise.
It's a surprise for Anita.
It's a
Well, that's
surprise.
good.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're
Yeah.
doing that. And then, so my weekend, so I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna drop some names. So tomorrow, Anita, I get to go to a women's power luncheon as a guest of Jill Wine-Banks, Watergate
Wow.
prosecutor, and Jan Schakowsky, the rockin' congresswoman from Illinois, will
Yeah.
be
Love her.
there. Yep, love her, and so I get to do that tomorrow, and then on Saturday, we're traveling up to Madison, Wisconsin for the, Stephanie Miller and
That's
Company Sexy
right.
Liberal
Sexy
show.
liberal. Yep.
Yeah, so I get to see everybody, and, gather with some, like-minded Steph heads and,
You will
some
have so
mooks.
much fun.
I
Yeah.
can't wait. I can't wait. One of these days, I'm gonna drag your small little butt. I'm gonna put you in a
No,
backpack and
no, it's
drag
not going
you
to
to the
happen.
show. Come on.
I don't
Um,
want all that attention because I know how much attention you get.
well, that's one difference between us. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
No, but, and then, we're staying overnight, and then Sunday, we're gonna have brunch with my stepmom at
Hmm.
their house because my dad and my stepmom are up there, so we get to do that, and then I'm gonna come back, and I told my kids, "You better have something planned for me for dinner."
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
surprise.
Mhm. So, that's what I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
I don't think
That's
we're going to go out or anything because Sundays, to find a restaurant, find any place,
yeah.
it's just
No.
impossible. Yeah.
I'm not yeah, I don't know. Like, since the pandemic, honestly, I prefer to just eat at home, and if we
I
do
don't,
do
yeah.
takeout or something, we'll do it, but I don't even really like going
I
to
don't like
restaurants all
takeout.
that much.
Yeah.
No,
I don't like takeout. Yeah.
no.
I don't like fast food anymore.
Okay,
Basically,
I'm
I'd rather
I'm
cook it at
making
home.
I'm making a list here. So doesn't like takeout.
Don't like sexy
Will
liberal tour
no.
attention.
Well, you like the sexy liberal tour,
I know
the
that's why I said
idea.
attention.
Oh, okay, but you don't okay, so Anita doesn't like
If I could
attention.
go like as your, like in a disguise
Oh,
as
I'll
your.
put yeah. You know, maybe I dress you up like a baby and then I'll put you in,
This is my baby.
"This is my baby,
She's
Benita,
rather large.
Benita."
I'm very small, okay, people, but not that
Yes.
small. Okay. Me and Francis,
Frangela, yes,
probably
you yeah,
Francis.
see, that's the thing.
Yeah.
You're gonna get picked up.
People will want to pick me up. I mean, come on.
Absolutely. Well, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I'll go like, I don't know, your toddler on a leash.
A toddler? No. Nobody puts Anita on a leash.
No, that would
No.
not happen. That's true.
No.
I'd
No.
rather just not. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, but you'll have a
Anyway,
blast and it'll be
yes.
Mother's
I'm
Day
looking forward to
weekend.
it. Yes.
Yes.
I'm
So
really looking forward to it. So anyway, so on that note, thank you to everybody who
thank
supports
you.
us and tunes
Happy
into our
Mother's
podcast.
Day.
Happy Mother's Day to the moms out there, the women
And to the
who
single dads.
and to the single dads and to all
Sure.
men out there who love and support women.
Yes.
Especially during these very scary times. So anyway, love y'all. Have a great one, and I'll talk to you later, Nita.
Okay. Bye, Karen.
Fly on a